It is one of the most difficult things to accomplish in sports. Outduel all other first-year performers to win the Rookie of the Year award. Regardless of how good you were in previous years at prior levels of competition, the step up to the big time is imposing at best and demoralizing at worst. This driver is tackling those first-year stresses head-on. And with a wisdom gained from his older brother and the direction offered by his veteran crew chief, he is quickly becoming one of the sport's brightest young stars. And tonight, you get to meet Kenny Wallace, driver of the Dirt Devil Pontiac, on This Week in NASCAR. And now, from the studios of WTVI-TV in Charlotte, North Carolina, here's the host of This Week in NASCAR, Eli Gold.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to This Week in NASCAR. Welcome to Charlotte, North Carolina for our show this evening. The Winston Cup teams take this weekend off while the Busch Series visits Watkins Glen for the Phase 150. Kenny Wallace is with us. We'll be taking your calls for Kenny here in just a moment. The phones are open at 1-800-292-5551. That's the number to put you in touch with us each week on This Week in NASCAR. As far as the news of this week is concerned, actually it's been a fairly quiet week thus far. A lot of off-track news that normally bubbles up at this time of the season has, at least for the moment, been put to rest. Of course, last weekend, Ricky Rudd announcing that his plans are somewhat complete now with a tied car for next year. He'll be running the team himself, though no determination quite yet as to whether it'll be a General Motors product, a Ford product, or possibly yet another manufacturer stepping into Winston Cup racing. On the track this week, a lot of testing going on down at Daytona. Teams making final preparations on Tuesday and Wednesday for the Pepsi 400 upcoming. Also up at the New Hampshire International Speedway, Winston Cup and Busch Series cars both doing some testing there prior to the running of the Slick 5300 on July the 11th. So that's the news of this week. Now to our special guest of this evening, a gentleman who comes from a very, very rich racing background, stepping up into Winston Cup competition, battling for the Max Race Cards Rookie of the Year honor, the driver of the Dirt Devil Pontiac, Kenny Wallace. Good to see you here tonight. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Eli. I'm excited to be on the show.
It's been a very interesting start for you. It's been as we said at the very outset of the program, you're facing a lot of stresses head-on. It's, you know, what you did in the past is all fine and good, but now it's what have you done lately, and it's a learning experience again.
And that's what I've always told everybody. You know, I said racing's a tough sport. It's kind of like boxing. You know, well, you may have won some Busch Grand National races, you know, and run second in points and racked up some statistics, but it doesn't go far. You know, it's just the way it works. Has
the learning curve been more difficult than you expected because the Busch cars had run many of the same racetracks that the Winston Cup does? Has it been a stiffer learning curve than you thought? Well,
the curve has been tough, but it's not been as tough as I, you know, expected it to be. We're not running as good as I wanted to be, and that's what's really tough.
Kenny Wallace is our guest. Our first call this evening comes from Fall River, Massachusetts, where Jim is watching on the New England Sports Network. Hello.
How you doing, Eli? Great show.
Thank you, sir.
I got a question for you, Eli, and then for Mr. Wallace.
All right.
Where are you guys going to be when you come up to New Hampshire?
Okay. We will be at the Holiday Inn in Concord, New Hampshire. It used to be the Ramada Inn right there in downtown. They have changed affiliations. It's now a Holiday Inn, but we will be there on that Thursday evening with our show live at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. And your question for Kenny? Apparently that was the only question he had. You know, we're going up to New Hampshire for the Slick 5300. You've been there. You've run the Busch car there in the past. I think it's going to be an interesting track for the Winston Cup guys.
Yeah, Eli, I hope I have the luck that I've had up there. You know, that's been one of my best tracks. You know, won the Bud 300 there in '91 and picked up about $63,000.
Right.
So if I can go back there, you know, and just run with the big boys, you know, in Winston Cup, you know, that's all I'm asking for.
You tested there last week, I guess, yourself. Kyle Petty was there, Michael Waltrip, a few others. Joe Nemechek was up there. A difference in the Winston Cup cars negotiating that track versus the Busch Series cars? The weight difference, does it make it a whole different animal?
You know, there's racetracks that you can go to, and you can say, wow, this Winston Cup's really tough. It's really different. Then there's racetracks you go to, like Martinsville or Wilkesboro, or Loudon, and it's not like a whole bunch of difference, you know. I think the biggest difference I feel between Winston Cup and Busch cars are places like Dover or Charlotte, the intermediate tracks for some reason.
Right.
But we had a good test up there, you know, and we worked out some more kinks, you know, to help our year progress.
Let's go up to Wayland, Michigan for our next call. A viewer on the pass system. Alan, good evening to you.
Good evening. Thanks for taking my call, Eli.
Certainly.
My question is to Kenny. Seeing as how you're a rookie this year and you've already ran most of the tracks so far this season, do you feel like you're going to be more confident going into the second half of the season?
Well, I sure hope so. You know, it's a situation right now where, you know, we ran poorly at Michigan, and the guys Monday morning literally cut the whole body off the race car. That car right there was a car that we had ran in the Winston Open in Michigan only, and it had poor performances. And, you know, I'm looking forward to going to Daytona because I ran good at Talladega, and that was a complete different car that we had at Daytona the first year. So I'm really thinking that we turn the corner here and get all our cars lined up, and we all just get better. Things should work out.
We're spending this hour with Kenny Wallace. He is the driver of the Dirt Devil Pontiac. As soon as we come back, we'll take more of your calls as we join you tonight from Charlotte, North Carolina on This Week in NASCAR. Stay with us.
This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Smooth Busch Beer and Easy Drinkin' Busch Light, by Kendall Motor Oil, pour in the protection, and by the Heartbeat of America Chevrolet and your local Chevy dealer.
What is a mountain man's natural environment? Let's explore. A mountain man enjoys peaceful surroundings, a place where gentle winds blow, and the beauty of nature is all about. Only here does the mountain man find true happiness with a smooth Busch beer or an easy drinking Busch Light. So, head for the mountains and find out how the true mountain man can make any environment a more natural one.
Oh, hey there, Grandpa. How's the old truck running?
Never been better. Oh, I brought your graduation present by. Well, it's been in the family a long time.
Kendall Motor Oil. It's good stuff. Thanks, Gramps. I'm not quite sure what to say.
Well, that and this old truck kind of go together. It's yours, as long as you take care of it.
Look for the newest members of the Kendall NASCAR racing team, Dial Petty and Kenny Wallace.
The new Camaro. What else would you expect from the country that invented rock and roll?
Tune up your car, Tom Smothers. Tune up your car today. Take it, Tom. With spark plugs from NGK.
Serving America's great sports networks. You're watching Prime Network.
For the car you drive, for the way you drive. Slick 50 high performance engine formula.
Back with you on This Week in NASCAR, Bristol, Tennessee. The Wallace brothers there, Rusty chasing down the Dirt Devil Pontiac. You've had some good runs this year at the tougher racetracks, Kenny Wallace. Bristol, Talladega, Dover, you had a good run. The tougher the track, it seems the easier you're adapting to it.
You know, that's funny, too, because my first year I ever raced in '86 was in ASA, and there was a track, I think, in Cayuga, Canada.
Sure.
And my brother told me, you know, it's a tough track, it's a one lane, and a lot of people have said that I always adapt to the tracks that are always the awkwardest ones, you know, and I think one of the tracks I really like so far this year is Pocono. It's such a different racetrack.
Certainly.
I had a good time there.
Yeah. Let's get right back to the phones. Head out to a caller in El Cajon, California, joining us on Prime Ticket Network. Good evening. How are you, sir?
Hello, Eli and Kenny.
Good evening.
Hi.
I had a question for either one of you gentlemen. In order to create faster pit stops, is NASCAR considering, or the team's considering, the possibility of incorporating some of the other types of systems? For example, using a centralized fueling system to fuel the cars. It seems like a lot of fuel gets wasted and spilled, and possibly a pneumatic jack system.
Well, I know fans have talked about that, bringing that over from IndyCar racing or Formula One, but I've not heard NASCAR going in that direction.
Eli, I don't think it would do any good to make the pit stops any faster, and why I say that is because we're looking at competition level here.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you implement rules and say these are the rules, whoever can, you know, improvise those rules the best, you know, will do good. So we don't want to get in a situation where we spend another $5,000 on air jacks. And,
Sure.
you know, we need to keep the sport the way it is in that sense. Of course, business areas could change, but as far as the competition level, I think the pit stops are really doing good right now.
Let's stay out on the West Coast and go to one of the old great addresses of racing, Riverside, California. Don, watching on Prime Ticket. Good evening, and welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Eli, I have a question either for you or for Kenny.
Sure.
Either one that can answer it.
All right.
Unical supplies the fuel, right?
Yes.
Is it unleaded or leaded?
It is unleaded fuel. Excuse me, it is leaded fuel, 110 octane, which exactly what that translates to, I'm not really sure, but that's the bottom line on these cars.
And I'll tell you, you know, Eli is better at answering some of those questions than I am because I take things for granted, you know, and...
just pull up to the pump.
Yeah, pull up the pump and put some of that Unical gas in there. And
I had asked Bill Broderick and Bill Joyner once about that, not so much the leaded versus the unleaded, but the octane rating, and they gave me an answer about yay long about exactly how they arrive at the octane numbers, but it's roughly 110 octane in those racing cars. Now down to El Paso, Texas. Matt watching on HSE. Hello, Matt.
Hi, Eli. Kenny.
Hi.
Kenny, good luck on your rookie points chase. And I wanted to ask a question, actually a two-part.
Okay.
How do you like the new braking systems on the Cup cars for the short tracks? And why don't you think NASCAR would allow those on the BGN cars? Thank you.
Well, you're talking about the recirculating fluid, and I think that's a situation that was kind of just asked just a little bit ago about pit stops. You know, everything that NASCAR, everything that comes in needs to be looked at on the sport, because what happens, we end up like some of the other series where one car can win 12 to 16 races in a row, and we don't want that to happen. So it's not an advantage or a disadvantage. It's just that basically the Winston Cup cars, in my theory, are so much heavier. They're 300 pounds heavier, and they got a V8 motor, and they're a lot harder to stop. So they've looked at it, you know, and they told us we could run the recirculating brake fluid. It keeps the brake fluid from boiling in the puck of the caliper. So as far as the Busch Grand National Series, you know, I don't know. Evidently, from what you know, is that they can't run it. And you know, I think they'll be able to run it in any time, but the only thing I would have to say is that the Cup cars are heavier and harder to stop.
Our next stop on This Week in NASCAR is Columbus, Ohio. Jim joining us on Prime Network. Hello.
Yeah, Eli, I got a question for you. You know who the sponsor's going to be on Neil Bonnett's car that he's going to drive for Childress down there at Talladega?
I don't know if that has necessarily been determined, whether indeed Neil is going to drive definitively and what the situation is going to be. Certainly Neil has been doing a lot of testing for the Childress team. As a matter of fact, supposedly tested what will be the brand new Monte Carlo for Chevrolet. He tested that at Michigan a couple of weeks ago, but there's been no definitive word yet as to whether we'll see Neil Bonnet in a full-fledged Winston Cup race later this season or beyond. We're going to break away right here. We're going to come back, more of your calls for Kenny Wallace, but as we do leave you, let's check out the Winston Cup point standings, spots 1 through 10, as the Cup cars have this weekend off, getting set for the Pepsi 400 at Daytona. Take a look. We'll be right back.
A high-flying hoop show that's on top of the game.
Whose game is it? It's Michael Jordan's game.
You get it all.
Available delivers.
The hottest players and teams.
Less than a second.
Your favorite personalities.
There's Dominic. Yes.
And the greatest plays of the week. All this and more coming your way in NBA action.
Tonight at 5:30 on NESN, your ticket to the best in basketball.
They had the leadership. They had the speed on the base pass. They had the stroke. And nothing runs like this, dear. The Sox and Tigers tomorrow at 1, only on NESN.
In the middle of that pack at the Winston 500, the Dirt Devil Pontiac driven by Kenny Wallace, as we welcome you back to the show. Another racetrack where you were very much in the hunt and had a good run going.
Right, that was a really good race for me, you know, and I guess before the yellow flag and the rain came out, we was running about 10th, and this old rookie just kind of let up out of the gas, Eli. When it started raining really hard, the yellow come out, and we ended up finishing 14th, but the car handled and ran real well, and I'm excited to go to Daytona because that's the same car we're going to take to Daytona.
Exactly right. We've got callers on the line now from Seattle, Washington, a viewer on Prime Sports Upper Northwest. Hello, Ed. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. How you doing?
Very well.
We like your program up here in the West, and we're big Wallace fans up here, especially Rusty. First question is, on the yellow restarts there, how come sometimes they go single file on the restart, I noticed, and sometimes they like putting lap cars on the inside? What determines when they get?
There must be lapping on the racetrack. You can't double file until somebody is a lap down, plus that person must have been lapped on the racetrack. He can't be lapped on pit road. So that's why you'll see a single file versus a double file restart. And that's something that you know, a lot of fans always talk about. Would it be better to have everything single file, or why in the Busch Series is it done one way and in Winston Cup the other way?
Right. Yeah. Well, it just goes on and on. We ask that, you know, same question sometimes too, Eli. You know, coming from the Busch Series doesn't mean it's going to be easy, because on restarts the cars on the lead lap line up on the inside, and the cars a lap down line up on the outside. When Winston Cup, it's vice versa. The cars on the lead lap are on the outside. And believe me, if you're not in this sport enough, you can get very confused, and I've been penalized early in my career, you know, for lining up the wrong way. So you got to know what you're doing.
Connie is next in Fort Smith, Arkansas, with a question. Good evening.
Hello?
Hi, Connie. How are you?
Fine. I'd like to know what Kenny thought, what was going through his mind when his brother was flipping in Talladega.
Yeah, where were you in geographical layout there behind Rusty? How far behind there were you?
Well, I was right there, Eli. It was just, you know, 20 of us you could throw a blanket over, and I was trying to get by a couple other cars, and ended up being in the middle. And pretty well just, you know, was on my own and crossing the finish line there, and started to relax just a little bit, and seen Rusty shoot out to the left there. And the first thing I thought of was, you know, not again. And it just makes you sick at your stomach, you know, and then right away you want to, you know, get back around the track and make sure he's okay. And at Daytona, I got a little excited because he flipped so violently. I come back around. I was really worried about him, and my boys got on me a little bit to calm down. So I'll have to say I've had some experience at keeping my composure, you know, because Rusty's had some violent wrecks this year.
Were you guys very, very close? Are you very, very close as a racing family? Yourself, Rusty, Michael, are you guys very, very close?
Yes, very close. And it's a situation where we all can hardly ever get together because we're always doing our own things. You know, my mom and dad are still based in St. Louis. My mom runs Rusty's fan club. My wife, Kim, runs my fan club.
It's nice to have a family deal like that.
Oh, yeah, but we're always, you know, going different ways. You know, I can call and ask where Mike's at, and he might be in South Carolina doing something, and I never know where anybody's at. So, but we talk, you know.
Throw away the brother relationship for a moment. Let's talk about Mike Wallace.
Right.
Even though the show tonight zeroes in on you, I'm curious about his driving ability. I said to somebody once, and I said, you know, these guys just keep getting better and better. No reflection on Rusty or yourself, but I saw him the first couple of races where he was struggling and he just kept working. Forget the brother tie. If you just saw Mike Wallace sitting there, good driver?
I think, I'll tell you honestly, and Rusty's mentioned to somebody, and I think Rusty would tell somebody if you get down with it, Mike's probably better than me and Rusty. Raw talent. I think where Rusty and myself propelled just a little bit was because we had our nose to the grinding stone as far as, you know, we got to get the car to handle. We really want to make it in racing, and Mike was too. But Mike is such a great short track dirt driver, and, you know, really good with the lightweight cars in the Midwest. And he's a great businessman, and he'll make it in the sport. And it's just like Rusty's always on to me. You know, can he pay attention to your car? You know, you're the computer behind the steering wheel. Tell the crew what you need, and that's all Mike's lacking right now is just a little bit of time and getting in a really good car. Although he's got some good cars right now.
What I found impressive about him, or anybody who's basically junked what they had going and picked up and moved somewhere to pursue a dream. I mean, he got out of what is a fairly lucrative family business and said, I'm heading south. Didn't have anything guaranteed, and he was picking up a ride here, ride there. That's what showed me, that's what desire is all about.
Yeah, he's a great businessman, and we've always said that about him and my uncle. They're both close. Michael, he's really keen on that, and he's good at business, and he's been all around Charlotte. You know, I mean, I was really impressed. He got to know James Brady, the National Press Secretary, who got shot with Ronald Reagan, and I had a little go-kart race, and here's the man come in his wheelchair over to my go-kart race, and, you know, I didn't know how this happened. Him and my brother Mike know each other because Mike's doing things around the Charlotte area to help racing in the Head Foundation. So Mike's working hard at making his place.
Kenny Wallace is the subject of our show this evening, the driver of the Dirt Devil Pontiac. Quick reminder before we break away, next week we'll be down in Daytona Beach, Florida, just prior to the Saturday running of the Pepsi 400. Hope you can make your plans to join us right here on This Week in NASCAR, Thursday, July the 1st. Then in 2 weeks' time, for the first time, the Winston Cup cars visit New Hampshire International Speedway. As we mentioned to a caller earlier on the program, we'll be at the Holiday Inn in Concord, New Hampshire, formerly the Ramada Inn, right there in downtown Concord. Come by. We'd love to see you in person, or certainly tune in right here on Prime Network. We're coming right back. More of your questions, but right now we check out the Winston Cup point standings, positions 11 through 20. Take a look. We'll be right back.
Here it comes. Fly ball to deep left. Yastrzemski is going hard. Way back, way back. And he dives and makes a prodigious catch.
He struck him out.
Here's a shot to center field. Knoblaw going back, looking up. It is off the wall. Milstein will score.
The Paw Sox travel to Norfolk tomorrow night live on NESN.
Hi, I'm Ann Liguori. One of my favorite parts of Sports Interview is the interview, getting the personalities to open up about themselves. You'll see that there's more to these athletes than RBIs and touchdowns.
I told it to the people I needed to tell it to. I don't have to tell it to you. It's not going to get me in the Hall of Fame.
I'm probably one of the only athletes in L.A. that says he doesn't want to go join the golf tour and doesn't want to be an actor.
Football put me here. The football will get me out.
So look for us each week on Sharp Sports Interview.
Every battle starts with a war fought from within. Matched by the physical skills needed to TKO the championship dream. Second place is reserved for the losers, because the last man standing when the final bell rings is the winner. Fight Night.
Monday night at 11, live on NESN.
Back with you. Dover Downs is the site of another of the fine runs for the Dirt Devil Pontiac. We were talking earlier with Kenny Wallace about how well he's gotten around some of the tougher racetracks, and certainly that is one that, from our viewpoint in the radio booth, Kenny, always seems like one of the world's greatest roller coaster rides.
It's one heck of a racetrack. I tell you, you can either be really good there or you can be really bad. Track, you can see right there, I'm slipping up high, not wanting to, you know, but the momentum there. And it's a tough racetrack.
Speaking of Dover, Delaware, a lot of folks may not know, some folks do. You sat in with the MRN broadcast crew on the radio side for the 200-lapper for the Busch Series. How'd you like that? Was it something you'd like to pursue further?
I had a lot of fun, but I have a lot of respect for like you and Barney Hall and Joe Moore and all the people that do that, because you really got to be calculated. I think that I'd like to go into just, you know, helping you guys out, because you're really talented at that, and I think I could do it. But I had a lot of fun, because never have I sat in the stand since I've been a kid watching my dad, and the perspective I got was, man, now I can see what some of these crew chiefs are seeing, so and I could feel what the guys were doing in the race.
It's an educational process. We've got Mike joining us here in the studios of WTVI with a question. Good evening, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Kenny or either one of you, the information on provisional starts. How do drivers get provisional starts? Do they get so many a year? And that's basically what I want to know.
Right, the provisional starts, and Eli can also help me out on these. Eli, you get, what, 2 per every half of the year?
Actually, now it's 3. They've just changed it. You get 3 provisionals available to you in the first 10 races that you attempt to qualify for. Then at that point, after the first 10 races, you get 1 more provisional back, and then again after 10 more races, you get another provisional back. The bottom line is it's a chance for a regular competitor to get into the race if he's had just dreadful luck and hasn't been able to qualify any other way.
Right, and it got real interesting this year, you know, because, you know, at some of the short tracks where they start 34 plus 2 provisionals, you know, a good friend of mine, Bobby Labonte, if Darrell Waltrip would not have taken his championship provisional at Bristol, Bobby would have had to gone home, and you know, it gets real tight here lately.
Right, that championship provisional is another element where former Winston Cup champions also have a provisional starting spot available to them again if they need to get into the starting field. Let's head down to the state of Georgia for our next question. Tip joining us from Moultrie, Georgia, watching on Sports South. Hello.
Hello there, Eli. How are you tonight?
Real well, Tip. Thank you.
We sure enjoyed the show, and of course I had the opportunity to appear on it up in Dover last year in person. I got a quick question for you, and then one for Kenny Wallace also.
Sure.
On it, I've checked with NASCAR. I'm in a wheelchair, and as to find out the accessibility for people in wheelchairs and parking at the major speedways where the Winston Cup cars appear, and they didn't have a director or anything, and as far as seating and parking for people in wheelchairs, and of course I doubt that you do also, but I just wondered if there's any way you could get with the PR departments with the speedways, or if they're looking in and have them to comprise a directory maybe and make it available to wheelchair people.
Certainly. And your question for Kenny, and I'll follow up on that. Your question for Kenny, sir.
Okay, my question for Kenny is, of course, Kenny, I'm impressed. I think you have a great future ahead of you. On it, I just wondered if you have a contract for next year or with the same team, or if not, have you negotiated some other arrangement, and how much help has Rusty been to you and Kyle Petty?
A lot of questions there. First off, you are set for a while.
Well, we have a 3-year contract with Dirt Devil, but that's a story in itself with Felix Sabatas. Felix does not believe in contracts with personal friends. Kyle is a friend of his, I'm a friend of his. We do it all on a handshake. We believe in, you know, I'm still learning this sport, but I also believe it's like being married. You know, if you can't get along and nobody wants each other, go your own ways instead of fighting out.
Sure.
I don't want to drive having a contract knowing my team doesn't want me. So, you know, we get along great, and I asked Felix, I said, look, I need to build a house. Can I build one? You know, can I go on? And, you know, it's fine. You know, we're going to go on for as long as we know, and things are turning out good there.
Answering the first part of Tip's question, every racetrack does have special seating put aside with ramp access for those who are in wheelchairs and so on. They have special parking areas. The best thing to do right now would be to contact each individual racetrack, because there is no formal directory per se. The one thing I will tell you is that, as it turns out, some of the very best seating locations at all of these racetracks are reserved for those folks who are in wheelchairs. Martinsville just coming out of turn number 4, Watkins Glen at the start-finish line. So it's not like they'll find an area and shun you aside. The folks who are in wheelchairs and those who are physically handicapped in whatever way are taken good care of at Winston Cup racetracks. We're going to come back. We'll head out to California in a moment for another phone call, but right now we check out some of the statistics pertaining to this 1993 Winston Cup season. You might find them interesting. We're coming right back.
The laboratories of 2001 announce a major breakthrough in auto protectant technology, Formula 2001 Super Protectant. Its advanced SunStop formula helps protect against the sun's UV rays, extreme temperatures, and moisture, which cause fading, drying, and cracking. What's more, independent lab tests prove Formula 2001 provides a more brilliant, longer-lasting shine than Armor All on vinyl and leather. But what if your car's surfaces are already faded? We went to the Arizona desert to put Formula 2001 Super Protectant to the ultimate test. Watch what happens to UV faded vinyl, rubber, even dried faded leather. Get the new standard in automotive protectant technology, the one with 50% more active shining ingredients than Armor All. Formula 2001 Super Protectant with a fresh leather fragrance. And for the unique demands of tire care, get new Formula 2001 Tire Foam and Shine. Just spray and walk away. Get 2001 at these fine stores.
There's no place on earth that I'd rather be than out in the open where it's all plain to see. If it's gonna get done, it's up to you and me. Come on and head for the mountains of Bush. Come on and head for the mountains of Bush. Beer.
There's an old sign of happy times, victory lane. I guess for the first time ever at the Busch Series at Volusia County Speedway for you.
Yeah, I started racing in '86, and it took me, I guess, 3 or 4 years, whatever, to win my first race. And, yeah, that was a relief. And then we went on to win another one that year, and then another one. And so...
I think the same thing's going to happen in Winston Cup. Once you get that first breakthrough, I think the others will start coming.
Gosh, I hope so, you know, because there's so many that you get so close to. I can remember my rookie year. In '89, I guess, in the Busch Grand National Series, I had a couple of races won, and you know, alluding to the question earlier, at Nashville, I lined up wrong and had a stop and go penalty with about a 3/4 of a lap lead on the field, and made a mistake and lost that race. So, getting that first one under the belt is tough.
I hear you. Let's go out to Culver City, California. Our next call, John is watching on Prime Ticket. Hello, John.
Hi. Hello, Rusty.
That's Kenny.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, Kenny.
That's all right. Good try. You're close.
Close cigar.
Yeah.
Could you say hello to my brother Dennis? He's a big fan.
Hi, Dennis. How you doing, buddy?
Thanks. My question is regarding the racing champions and model cars, because we've just built a model of your car with using bootleg decals and such.
Okay.
Do you know when they're going to be coming out?
When the real deal is going to come out, huh?
Right.
Well, let me tell you, you know, Felix Sabatis and all the people at Sabco Racing and Motorsports Tradition handle that. But I do know that we changed colors so much early this year, Eli, you know, trying to find the good identity for the people at Dirt Devil and Kendall GT1. And that's why we're probably a little behind on some of the things. And I would say you just keep watching and everything will be coming out.
Kenny Wallace is with us, driver of the Dirt Devil Pontiac. Let's talk a little bit about your racing team in general. We've established the Kenny Wallace role in a rookie season, but you've got pit stops to work on, you've got crew members to mesh, you've got, you know, all sorts of different elements that have to come together. Has it been a feeling out process for everybody else? Do the guys work on pit stops at the shop? Do they just try and work together and learn how to mesh together?
Well, you know, it's the deal where I've had that answer, or you know, it's been asked to me a lot about the team, how's it coming together. I think the best way I can answer that is to just tell people that, you know, this is the first time I'm in a Winston Cup car. It's the first time Jeff Hammond has ever worked with anybody other than, you know, Darrell Waltrip or Cale Yarborough. My guys are all new together, and it's a deal where it's going to take time and patience, you know, from people. But yes, the team is together, the unity is there, and right now, you know, the want to run better is just enormous. So I think everything's going good. It's just right now our want is bigger than our results. We want to have faster pit stops. We want to run better. I want to drive better. And I think we're just going to have to keep working at it. But, you know, nobody's jobs are on the line at this team. And, you know, that's a big bonus. You know, Felix has had us in a meeting and told us what he has thought. And everything gets clear. So I think we're going to be okay.
That's super. Bay City, Michigan is up next with a caller watching on the pass system. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you guys doing?
Good, thank you.
See you down in Michigan this weekend. All you guys down there, you put on another great show. And my question for Kenny is, with all the drivers now going out and leaving, I mean, they're leaving some respectable teams and forming their own teams. What's the main reason for that? Is it just for the financial gain, or is there other reasons why a driver would, like a Ricky Rudd, would quit a tie team and go out and form his own team?
No, it's very simple, and everybody knows it, and Eli pretty well knows what I'm going to say right now. The situation is that the corporate money is there, and the pressure to produce is very high by everybody on all level of motorsports. The drivers that are starting their own team are established drivers that are 38 to 40 years old, or even, younger, and they're saying, hey, I'm tired of this pressure. I want to go back to like the olden days, have my own team.
Control my own fate, basically.
Control my fate. It has nothing to do and nothing against any new car owners. I would want to drive for Felix Sabates my whole career, I really do. But I think in some situations, some of those drivers that are starting their new teams are always being, needled, that, hey, you won one race, that's all you won. I mean, when Rusty only won two races, with Penske, he got needled all year long.
Of course, Ricky Rudd has won at least one race now for 11 years in a row. I mean, we're not exactly talking chopped liver there either.
Right, and I do know it's just fact. The drivers wanting to start their own team is because so they can control, their own situation.
And of course, once their driving days are over, as Darrell Waltrip said, I don't want to wake up one day and say, I've got nothing to do. Where do I go? I'm not a driver anymore. He said, I'm planning for my future as much as for the present, for that comfort factor that Kenny was telling you about. We're going to come right back. More of your questions as tonight we spend time on This Week in NASCAR in Charlotte, North Carolina. Stay with us.
Fact. Only one magazine is the best source for auto racing news. On Track. Fact. Only one magazine covers Formula One, Formula 3000, IndyCars, Trans Am, IMSA, NASCAR, and more every 2 weeks. On Track. If you want 100% auto racing, call 1-800-825-8214 now and get 1 year, 25 action-filled issues for just $29.97. Call On Track now and get the facts.
Everyone talks about how racing technology makes their street cars better. What they fail to say is whose race technology has won more than anyone else. Chevrolet. The heartbeat of America.
The laboratories of 2001 announce a major breakthrough in auto protectant technology, Formula 2001 Super Protectant. Its advanced sun-stop formula helps protect against the sun's UV rays, extreme temperatures, and moisture, which cause fading, drying, and cracking. What's more, independent lab tests prove Formula 2001 provides a more brilliant, longer-lasting shine than Armor All on vinyl and leather. But what if your car's surfaces are already faded? We went to the Arizona desert to put Formula 2001 Super Protectant to the ultimate test. Watch what happens to UV faded vinyl, rubber, even dried faded leather. Get the new standard in automotive protectant technology, the one with 50% more active shining ingredients than Armor All. Formula 2001 Super Protectant with a fresh leather fragrance. And for the unique demands of tire care, get new Formula 2001 Tire Foam and Shine. Just spray and walk away. Get 2001 at these fine stores.
There's crew chief Jeff Hammond on the left, car owner Felix Sabates, as you check in with a hi boss, and how you doing?
That's it.
Felix is a great businessman, obviously learning the sport of racing, of NASCAR racing as he's gone. What kind of a man is he to work with? Does he give you guys carte blanche when it comes to the racing aspect of the business?
He can handle everything that you need to handle. He can sit down and tell you something you don't want to hear, and then when you leave his desk, he'll be shaking your hand and giving you a hug. He can take and, there's things that you know in your own mind that you don't tell other people, and he does it, and you see that he really understands the sport. He may not be a mechanic, he may not be in the garage, but he asks enough questions and ciphers everything out. And he's just a good guy, he's just unbelievable to deal with at times when you think you're really in trouble, and he stops everybody and says, well, we'll handle it, so it's just working out good.
Sounds like a blessing for you to get hooked up with a man like that.
Definitely. He's got some patience.
Let's go back to the phones and head to Pensacola, Florida. Ray, watching on the Sunshine Network. Hello.
Hey, Eli, I want a confirmation on a great show.
Thank you, sir.
I have two questions for Kenny.
All right.
The first one is, do you qualify with a different motor than you actually run the race with? And are the restrictor plates any different size for the Ford, Chevrolets, and Pontiacs?
Well, first of all the restrictor plates are the same size. We always, I'd say 98% of the time, qualify with 2 different motors because the races are so long and so much on the line that we don't want to take a chance. You know, there's sometimes we might run 200 miles of practice.
Sure.
And, you know, we only needed a motor blow up with 2 laps to go or something. So, yeah, we do that.
You know what's been bizarre, and it's not been a problem besetting your team, but in the last few weeks, Pocono, Michigan, we have seen engines popping right and left, and you know, you go so long, you'd never see an engine failure, and there were, what, a dozen at Pocono and a handful last weekend.
Right, and it's in every area of the car at different times.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's the motor. We had a problem where we kept, you know, overheating our transmissions and our gears, and we just had to run some different air vents, you know, that we had tried and changed, and then motor builders, you know, they get to scratching their heads, you know, we're not changing nothing. Well, the vendor has changed bearings or rings, and so it's just something different all the time, and you constantly chase
It's been an interesting period here lately. Let's stay in the state of Florida. Sebring is up next. Hello, Stan. How are you?
Fine, gentlemen. I got a question for each one of you.
Yes, sir.
Kenny.
Yes, sir.
Enjoy seeing you race, and glad you made it up to the major leagues there.
Thank you.
Does NASCAR provide you with a restrictor plate, or do you bring your own?
No, they totally provide everything. You get in tech line before qualifying, and a matter of fact, they put it on with their own hands. You cannot touch it. The only thing you can do is put your carburetor back on, tighten everything down, and they start the motor up and put an air sensor to make sure you're not grabbing no more air from anywhere on the outside.
And they even seal the whole thing with one of those clip-on seals that you might use in your office to secure a postage meter to the meter machine. NASCAR is very, very careful about that. Your other question, Stan? Apparently, that was just the one he chose to throw at us. We're going to come right back and take more of your questions, spending the night with Kenny Wallace, driver of the Dirt Devil Pontiac. Don't leave us. We'll be right back.
Taste of every sport under the sun on American Adventurer. Tuesday night at 6:30 on NESN. Your ticket to the widest variety of sports.
The best 7-man rugby teams go to war for a shot at the World Championship Wednesday night at 11 on NESN. Your ticket to the widest variety of sports.
There's Jeff Hammond on the right, Richard Bostic, gas man and truck driver in the rear, and there, of course, is Kenny Wallace, driver of the Dirt Devil Pontiac. It's a good veteran race team. Again, it takes, we talked earlier, time for everybody to mesh. Jeff Hammond, Lord knows, brings a ton of experience to that racing team.
A lot, a big time, you know, and it's a different world for both me and him, you know. Like I said, him being with Darrell and Junior for all those years, and me just being my first time here, so I'm happy to have him because I can get quite hyper.
Sure.
And as everybody knows, every time they see me, I'm smiling or jumping up and down, not stopping, so he helps calm me down.
Let's head out to Whittier, California for our next question. Linda watching on Prime Ticket. Hello.
Hello there, Eli. How are you?
Great, thank you.
We certainly enjoy watching your show.
Thanks very much.
My questions are twofold. I would like to know the reason why some raceways on the NASCAR circuit are known as international raceways rather than just speedway, such as Daytona and Phoenix. I know they have the international races, but Bristol also is called international, is it not?
Yeah, that's really, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just a choice that they make. Martinsville Speedway, they just chose it because they felt the name sounded best that way. The fact that one is international and one is not really has no bearing on anything other than their choosing of their own name. Speaking of names, let me ask you a question. Folks, somebody asked me the other day on a radio show, and I couldn't come up with the true answer. Your nickname of Herman. Everybody calls you Herman. No, I think I might be the only guy who calls you Kenny on a consistent basis. Where did the nickname Herman come from? Because that's how you're known universally in the garage area.
Right. The nickname Herman came from when we grew up racing. We grew up maybe like the Earnhardts or whoever. My dad won all the time. And what I mean by all the time was like 10 and 11 features in a row in the Midwest. And what would happen is we'd get to winning so much, and I was so young, I'd sit in the grandstands, and I've said this time after time, people would just say terrible things, you know. I mean, stuff like, you know, I wish that Russell Wallace, you know, would burn, or I wish he'd crash, and, you know, it really horrified me, you know.
Sure.
And going to the racetrack every week, be like a small town, well, I'd pick up a snow cone or a candy apple, and I'd plow them right in the face with it because they upset me, you know. And I was a hyper kid, and always a little rascal is what they told me. And I don't know if it came from a cartoon character or what, but I got this nickname after the races were over at night. You know, they'd say, that old Herman the German. I don't know if it was a cartoon character or what, but Herman the German meant a little rascal type kid, just, you know, won't quit. He won't shut up. You know, he's always bothering people.
The Katzenjammer kid, something
That's
like
me,
that.
you know. Yeah. And so the guy who ran an association in Midwest named Bob Miller named me that, and it just stuck, and everybody calls me Herm or Herman.
They do. That's the only way a lot of folks know about you in the garage area.
It's crazy.
Let's get right back to the phones. Knoxville, Tennessee. Doug, thanks for waiting. Hello.
I'd like to say hi to Kenny, and I'm a big fan of Rusty Wallace's.
Okay.
And Kenny, I hope you get as good as him.
Well, I will
I'd like to ask you a couple questions. I'd like to know, like, when Rusty's going to put your lap down, do you just pull over and let him pass, or do you put up a fight and try to pass him?
Last time I put up a fight, NASCAR got mad at me, so I can't do that no more. Yeah, that's like a twofold deal there, too. You know, NASCAR racing is great racing. It's 500 miles, Eli. And, you know, when them leaders are coming up on you, you know, you want to show them the respect that hopefully one day when you're running, you know, if you got Dale Earnhardt or Kyle Petty, Rusty Wallace, you know, running second, third, fourth, and you're leading, last thing you want is some guy who's going to lap down in your way, and so everybody gets by you. So when the leaders are coming up, you know, the best thing to do is move to the left, let them go by, and get back in. You're getting lapped because you're running slow.
Yeah. What's your other question, sir?
Okay, I'd like another question. Are you, Jeff Gordon, and Bobby Labonte all pretty good friends, or y'all, you know, battle where y'all don't hardly speak to each other or nothing?
No, nowhere near like that. We're all friends. We're in this together. And myself and Bobby realize the situation with Jeff right now. And, you know, there's absolutely no animosity, and it's just like Richard Petty's Goodies commercial, you know, you know, you'll have one good race or one bad year, and we all look at it like that right now. You know, Jeff's having a great year.
One element of the rookie battle before we break away is the physical endurance.
Right.
I've been talking to you guys on a consistent basis. You know, you used to be in the car for 200 miles, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Now it's, you know, 4 hours at Rockingham, 4.5 at Dover, long races at a lot of locales. Has that been a tough part of the adjustment for you? Have you found the physical end of the business to be tougher, or have you been able to adjust?
I was so concerned with it that we had a nutritionist from Health Sports, HealthWorks in Charlotte, North Carolina. They put me, and Kyle drinks a lot of, it's called Exceed. It replenishes fluid, and, you know, and I'm one of the runt of the litter, I guess, of the Wallaces. So I've had no problem, Eli. I do the right things before the race. Eat right, drink right, and I've had no problem.
Super. We're going to break away here for just a moment, but a quick reminder before we leave you here about our next couple of shows on This Week in NASCAR. Next week we'll be in Daytona Beach, Florida, prior to the running of the Pepsi 400, 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Hope you can give us a call with your questions for our special guest. In 2 weeks, we'll be in Concord, New Hampshire, prior to the first Winston Cup race at the New Hampshire International Speedway. The Holiday Inn, right in downtown Concord, if you're familiar with the area. That used to be the Ramada Inn up until just a few weeks ago. So come on by and join us, either in person or certainly right here on Prime Network. Stick around. We're coming right back. Bristol Raceway in Tennessee, we had talked earlier about a good run. You don't realize quite how much the cars just dance around there until you get a view like we have here from Morgan Shepherd's car at you there on the left battling with Jimmy Spencer. You have a handful going 500 laps there.
Yeah, and right there, you know, I know my situation is basically these guys are the leaders, and Jimmy ran good in that race, and seen Davey and Morgan, so I was trying to keep the car on the bottom and let them go, you know, and then jump back up in line. And that's tough to do at Bristol because, you know, it's like until we lay the rubber down, you know, after the Busch race even, you know, you got to be on your toes.
Cindy is watching in Irwin, Tennessee with a question. Good evening.
Hi, Kenny.
Hi there.
Eli, we like your show down here in Tennessee.
Thank you, Cindy.
I want to know something, Kenny.
Okay.
You all, even though you're a rookie, and you all are out there, every single car in that field is running for points, right?
Right.
Okay, how come, and I'm not saying no names, but how come some of the other drivers that are out there feel like you all should just move right on out of their way?
Well, because we're rookies. No, I know where you're coming from, and it's just, as long as we're living our life, that's initiation. It's just, it's a deal where, you know, you got to crawl light, you know, before you walk, and I mean, I know where she's coming from. I've had it and talked to me. I've had, you know, major people tell me, you know, hey, you know, if the leaders are behind you and you're straightaway ahead, they're already concerned. And it's just, you know, time, and you get people's respect the more and more you go, and I realize that.
Let's head down to the bayou. Fred is watching in Shreveport, Louisiana. Hello, sir.
Hello. How you doing, Kenny?
I'm doing fine.
Are y'all excited to get to this Brickyard next year?
Well, we sure are. NASCAR has already told us that we're going to be able to test there right after the second Michigan race, that Monday and Tuesday, so all the teams are excited.
That is quite a place, especially for a man whose roots are in the Midwest, as yours were.
Yep.
What turned you to full-bodied stock cars versus an open-wheel career? Because the strength of USAC and the IndyCar ranks in the Midwest where you grew up, I would have thought might have turned you in that direction.
Well, you know, it did turn Kenny Schrader.
Sure.
Kenny Schrader and my brother Rusty were great rivals, you know, way back, and I guess Kenny got offered some midget rides, and he kind of took off, you know, California and a lot of areas. And I think the reason I just stayed in full-body cars was because Rusty did, and he was my older brother, and I just basically helped him and followed after him.
What did your dad drive when he was winning all of those races?
Well, in the early years, you know, he drove the coupes, like what we call modifieds, like East Coast modifieds, but they were the old coupes. And then basically that's another reason Dad started winning all the races with, you know, 1968 Chevelle, you know, 72 Chevelle, Chevrolet, full-bodied cars on dirt and on asphalt.
Now, one thing we were talking about, the family element of the Wallaces. Your brother was never bashful, and I remember knowing Rusty for more years than probably either of us want to admit, when he used to show up with that big head of hair, driving for Nicky Prejean with an old car of his. He said, my brother Kenny was the guy who's setting up these cars, who's building these cars, and even back then he said, you know, that's why I'm doing as well, because of that little guy. So obviously there was that background of car building, which I'm sure is helping you now, trying to you know, help mold the racing team into the right direction.
Yeah, and you know, it was basically myself and Paul Anders, who was Alan Quickie's crew chief and still is on, you know, Jimmy Hensley's team. And you know, that's why nowadays, Eli, when the guys are working at 11, I've proved to myself I know what I can do. So I got a lot of credit to give to my guys when they're working that hard on the cars.
I want to remind everybody before we break away here that there's a contest underway right here on Prime Network with a chance for you to win a trip to the Poconos, maybe win a $50,000 Winnebago, or possibly $1 million in cash. Here's what you've got to do. We'd like you to enter by sending a side package from a box of Champion spark plugs, or just write the word Champion spark plug on a 3x5 card. Send it to the Pocono Mountain Magic Sweepstakes, the address you see on the screen. It must be postmarked by tomorrow, the 25th of June. This is your last opportunity. We're going to pull 3 different finalists, each of whom will win a trip to the Poconos. Once you get there, we'll ask you to try and predict the winners, second and third place finisher of the Winston Cup race there. If you can do that, you'll take home $1 million or possibly a Winnebago. This week's finalist is a viewer on Sports South down in Johnson City, Tennessee. Janet Stagner will be heading to the Pocono Mountains along with our winner from last week who made his home in the state of Texas. One more finalist to be drawn next week. Hope you can make your plans to join us for that show and our drawing as well. We're going to come right back, but right now we break away. Stick around. Stay with us.
This Week in NASCAR has been brought to you by Kendall Motor Oil. Pour in the protection. By the Heartbeat of America Chevrolet and your local Chevy dealer. And by Smooth Busch Beer and easy drinking Busch Light.
I'll never forget my first oil change. For more than 5 generations, people have trusted Kendall Motor Oil to protect their engines. Today's Kendall protects better than ever.
Car is a pretty big responsibility.
Yeah?
And this is the key.
Hey, Charlene. Did you put the drain plug back in, son?
That day, I learned something about motors and motor oil.
What's that look like?
And to be sure to put the drain plug back.
Look for the newest members of the Kendall NASCAR racing team, Kyle Petty and Kenny Wallace.
It has a theft deterrent system to help protect you from bad guys. A bumper-to-bumper warranty to protect you for 3 years or 36,000 miles. And Scotch Guard on the seats and carpet to protect you from cheeseburgers. The new Camaro. What else would you expect from the country that invented rock and roll?
Mountain man survival skills. The basics. A true mountain man must have a keen sense of direction, a certain physical dexterity, and a talent for surviving the most unforgiving climates. Of course, nothing is more key to a mountain man's survival than plenty of smooth bush beer and easy drinking Busch Light. So, head for the mountains and learn how the mountain man survives even the most grueling conditions.
Back with you in Charlotte. I wish we had more time to talk because it's been very interesting tracking this year for you. You come from the area of experience in the Busch Series, experience with a family that's been so successful now. Here you are feeling the way along for yourself. I wish you the very best here for this year and for many years to come.
Thanks, Eli. We'll make it. Just everybody be patient with us, and we'll be running up front.
Kenny Wallace, driver of the Dirt Devil Pontiac for Sabco Racing, our special guest this evening. We thank you for your phone calls. A quick reminder that next week we'll be in Daytona Beach, Florida for this program just prior to the start of the Pepsi 400. Hope you can make your plans to tune in and join us with your calls and comments. Until then, for Kenny Wallace, I'm Eli Gold.